would you have said to your 18-year-old self, looking back? You were the underdog, man.
I was the least likely to succeed. I quit school because I hated school, and I went in the Marine Corps, and then I went in the Marine Corps. I got in trouble in the Marine Corps and was told to go home and get married again. And what would I have told my 18, don't change a thing. NRT started as a cab company, 1988, December 26th. My wife at the time was pregnant with our third child, and we needed to figure out how we were going to do childcare, right? I was a operating engineer, which is a fancy way of saying I ran a paver, which used to make roads. And in the winter, I would throw trash, right? Because I was a truck driver. She was a glassblower by trade. And she actually came up with the idea in her hometown, didn't have a taxi. So I took that winter off and we started North Reading Taxi. It was interesting. I was getting educated in how to treat the customer through osmosis, right? I was sitting in a car listening to conversations of executives talk about how to treat their customers. And I just started following suit. I got a phone call, and it was a school department, and asked me if I was interested in picking up one child. And I said, sure, right? So I picked the kid up and brought him to school. And I go, I think there's something to this. I've been on this contract, and it was about $1.2 million, and it involved 30 vehicles. Now, I knew nothing about this industry. I mean, other than just picking kids up. And I said, sure, I'll bid on it. And that's kind of how my whole life has been. I didn't do a lot of research on it, wasn't educated in it. It was a lot of trial by error. Got the contract and never looked back. The lowest bidder, right? And so Wilmington was really one of our first contracts. The next year, I bid on Lynn and I bid on Lawrence. 1999, a gentleman came to me and asked me if I would bid on his contract because we were doing his out-of-town special needs. And he was the athletic director of the town of Wilmington. He was he asked if I was interested in yellow buses. And I said, oh boy, that's a big shot, right? So I'm a workaholic by trade. And I didn't go home. I didn't go home for 4 years. And I really mean that. You talk to my kids today, and I didn't spend a lot of time at home. And I did whatever I needed to do to make sure that that parent felt comfortable about placing their child in my care. I'm dyslexic. I was the kid that was always pulled out of class and, go into, back then we'd go into supply closets and they'd try to teach me how to read, and I hated school. I just really hated school. When we started, transporting special needs children, right? And I didn't mean anything by it. I'm dyslexic, right? So it was such a long name to put on the vans. We put North Reading / and we said, okay, we can't do that. So we abbreviated it and we said NO period reading, right? No reading. And people actually called me and said, is that appropriate to have on a vehicle that, you're transporting children that have some, specific challenges? And I really didn't, take offense to it. I just, geez, I never even thought about it. And oh, by the way, I don't read well either. So, I never picked up on it. It was interesting because now, the one thing that I really did not feel comfortable doing was now making me money. The guy that really was challenged at reading and writing, I learned how to read and write pretty quick. And it's funny I say that, right? So, I started reading contracts. And I really liked reading contracts. Laidlaw and First Student, they were focused on each other and not focused on a guy like me, a young entrepreneur that wanted to make his mark in Massachusetts. From 2006 to 2019, I grew exponentially. I had roughly 1,800 vehicles, and we were up to $100 million in sales. I had bought a couple of companies, and I didn't even realize what we did until we really started looking at it. We built a big company, and I didn't realize that. So I started buying terminals and buying buildings. So we had this, we got $100 million in sales and $50 million in property. And as I looked at it for succession, really nobody in my family was looking to take this on. A lot of stress. So Vanpool really sparked my interest. I mean, I wasn't in the western part of the state. as deep as they were. I am not a gambler, but I've always taken chances in business because there's a little bit of control there. So this was my way of working with some partners to do some things that I couldn't do. We struck a deal. I own a big portion of this platform, which has been very interesting for me to see exactly how this has turned into what it is today. And I see this company doing wonderfully. It's going to have its bumps, right? New people, new ideas, but I think we're going to do just fine. The most important thing that I see, the foundation, the roots of this organization are the previous owners, right? To coach, work with, encourage the folks that are now stepping into our shoes, transit team, NRT, Trombley. It's important.
What do you want people to think about when they hear Beacon Mobility as a national player? What do you want to come to mind when people hear Beacon Mobility?
Different because of service. Number one is awesome, right? What's better than winning, right? But being the best is so much more important. First is a number, best is a philosophy, and people feel, good at the other end with best.